Okay, we are live. Hi everyone, welcome to TechMaestro. My name is Karan, and today I have Digvijay with me. Digvijay is a software engineer at Google, and to be honest, and to be fair, he's one of the most amazing software engineer I've ever met in my life. So, in this session, what we'll do is we'll talk about end-to-end process, software engineering interview process at Google. Google is like the one of the dream companies for a lot of people. I've conducted a lot of surveys on LinkedIn and other places, and it is the topmost dream company for almost all the people. That's why we have come up with this session where we'll discuss and decode the interview process for Google end to end with someone who has been taking Google interview for quite some time. And yeah, that's about it. So we'll start with a brief introduction. So Digvijay, why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Nice to see so many people joining this call. Hi, I'm Digvijay. I've been part of Google for the past 1 year. Before that, I was just preparing for the interviews and I was confused like how to go about it, right? But after all that journey that I have been through, I just thought like it would be so nice to share that with all the people so they can also enjoy this the perks and benefits of being at Google. They can just live through their dream. And even being at Google has been a dream for me. Hope you guys take something out of this session.
It's definitely will be a very good learning experience, and especially when it comes directly from a Googler, so it's definitely something that we all look up to. So we'll start in this process. In this video, we'll start very beginning, which is the application process. How do you get a call back from a recruiter? Then we'll talk about the interview process, and then the expectations. Like, this is something that a lot of people don't know, don't understand how what is expected out of an interview at Google. So if they have good understanding of what is expected, they can target their preparation accordingly, and they can basically prepare optimally. And then we'll talk about how did you prepare, Digvijay, and basically how can someone prepare specifically for Google or in general for basically software engineering interview. So without any delay, like, let's start with the application process. Can you tell us, like, how does a application process look like at Google, or what is how to apply for SD roles at Google basically?
Yeah, okay. So basically, there are multiple ways to apply at Google. The most common one being the referrals. So people can just drop a referral from some person that they know at Google. So that existing person will raise a referral request, and then there will be an invite which is sent to the candidate. So the candidate has to accept that invite, and within like 15 days, 20 days, the recruiter will reach out asking for like what is the role that is suitable, right, for the candidate as well as Google, like what works best for both. And they will like work on location and other things, and then they will set up a callback for an actual round. Actual round could be an on-site interview or online assessment test. So either way, like referral is one of the most common sources of applying at Google. So other than referrals, you can apply through the website. So through the website also, there is a team which screens the resume. So after resume screening, some of the resumes they get shortlisted. So that is also one of the way. Then of course, like there are cases where the hiring manager with the recruiter reaches out directly to the candidates via LinkedIn and other channels. So it's nice to like be more active on LinkedIn, have more references. So through that, at least if the recruiter directly reaches out, that's the best scenario. So you will directly get an interview call. Other than that, there is the campus recruitment. So like we go to various campuses. At least I think today uh, today we reached to like a lot more campuses than we used to. So and campus hiring is also like pretty common. So we also offer like internships, step internships and other internships. So these are the ways people can apply at Google. I hope that answers.
Okay. So okay, so basically, just to repeat, you said, like, there are, first of all, there are multiple channels and routes to get into, or at least the application process. So if I have to name a few, or just repeat what you said, one is linked apply through a referral. then if you can find a referral, that's the best way to go. If you can't, just apply, either go and apply on the website directly, or secondly you can actually apply, or you can reach out to recruiter on LinkedIn. Then apart from that, campus placement, then code jam is also there. Google hire from code jam. Apart from that, I know, like you said, Google step internship. These are some of the ways. I actually have one question, and this is one of the most common question that get asked to me as well. Is, भैया मैंने रेफरल से लगवाया फिर भी कॉल बैक नहीं आया. So basically, how do I ensure, or how do I increase the chances of callback for me? Like, even after a referral, people don't get callback. So how do I ensure, or basically increase my chances of getting a callback from companies like
Right.
Google?
Yeah, so that also happens. I have personally had similar cases, right, where you have tried through some referral, and even then your resume is, so there are multiple things that can happen here, right? Either your resume did not get shortlisted, in which case, like, I would suggest, like, work on your resume more. So you should, when I say work on your resume, like, things which are relevant to the role should stand out on their own. Like, suppose you are working in some software specialist role, right? Suppose it's a more design heavy role, so there should be instances which are showing that yes, you have like actively participated in the design phase, you have lived through that role before, right? So that should come out as a strong standpoint. So I,
Okay.
I, I personally feel that college is like not the most important thing that gets the resume screened out. It's mostly because that people haven't highlighted the right things in the right places. So that's one of the things that happens. Other than that, suppose you have gotten a referral through a person, that person is definitely there to help you out. So you can ask him, right? Because he is kept in the loop from Google side. Whatever happens, any events that happen, suppose you don't get shortlisted, or suppose your process is in progress, and all the updates go to that person, you can keep asking him, right? What is the current status? If nothing, he can still reach out to the recruiter. He can find out and he can communicate back to you, like, this is the
Okay.
status, right?
Okay. So basically, I want to reiterate on this because this is important. And I totally agree on the first point that you made. Like, first point that you said is work on your referral. Work on your resume.
Resume.
A lot of time, even when people have very relevant experience in the past, they're not able to highlight that very well. They're not able to sell themselves very well. So this is something that you definitely need to work on. If you are applying for any company, any role, you need to update your resume according to that. And there is something called ATS is basically application tracking system. It's a program. Basically, there is no human scanning your resume. It's a program scanning your resume, and program does not have biases. Program does not have any intelligence, although they have artificial intelligence, but that is totally different. So when you apply, your application goes through an application tracking system. That's where it gets scored, that's where it gets scanned, and you have to make sure that your resume is ATS friendly, first of all. Because a lot of time I've seen so many resumes that contains images, that contains multiple columns, that contains unnecessary tables and all, and due to which it becomes impossible for a machine to parse that into strings. It's as simple as that. It's a program that reads your file, pass that into string, and then do some magic on that. Forget about that magic for now. So you have to make sure that that string parsing is possible, first of all. Secondly, that's the magic part is basically keyword extracting. So you need to add relevant keyword in your resume which matches that profile. This is very important, and this is something that I've been advocating and preaching for quite a time now. So update your resume for a particular role. That this is very important, and this will help you get callback a lot of, like, you will be able to get most of the callbacks if you are able to get a score of around 95% or so. How can you check that? There's a website called resumewarded or jobscan.com. They're both free of cost. You can try that. I'll definitely add that in the comment down as well. So again, thank you so much for explaining the application process in so detail. uh, Now I want to go to the next stage, which is, let's say a person gets selected for or get a call back. So what does an interview process look like for, for entry level SD1 or intern kind of intern and entry level SD1s basically?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So first of all, like, when you get the call back, so the recruiter will reach out to you. That's step one. So she will explain you the process, and she will explain like, suppose there are going to be four interviews, right? So four interviews, like how long they will, what are the topics that they are judging on in general. So you can be better prepared. So she will ask you like, say suppose you want more time for a particular topic, you want to freshen up something, right? So definitely you can take your time. They want to judge you when you are at your best, right? It's not like they are someone is pushing you, just do the interview now, right? So take that opportunity, don't just miss out. And that is important, because I think even I did that. Suppose say design was something I wanted to focus on more, so I took more time for that. So that the time to plan for that is that only, when the HR reaches out,
You
that's
want
that
more
one.
time for. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the time when someone, then the HR reaches out. So after that, yeah, you, if you have done like a thorough preparation already, then that's fine, you can just scrim through the rounds now. So when you are going through the rounds, for a fresher or entry level SD1, I think there is one online assessment round, plus there are three on-site rounds of 45 minutes each, plus there is a Googliness round. I think that's what the process looks like. The on-site rounds will depend on the role, but yeah, for an SD1 role, I would suggest that the rounds are mostly focused on DSA and coding. Like those are the two primary focus areas. So of course, like people are well versed with DSA, having gone through in so much detail, knowing that it's Google, right? So that's not the problem. Like people get stuck in coding is what I feel. Like they know how to solve the problem, they are even able to explain it, right? But even after that, like coding is one of the most primary focus areas for an entry level SD1 especially. So
Okay.
coding is important. Like syntax errors are not the problem. Keep the code modular. Try to cover edge cases. Do dry run. Like communicate that you are working on the problem all the time. Even you can even explicitly ask. Suppose you are stuck, right? You can explicitly ask for hints. Like that's the way. But yeah, once your like rounds go through, then there is a hiring manager round with the hiring manager. So hiring manager will, basically the hiring manager will talk about his team, his what is the role, right, that he expects, and are your expectations aligned or not. Maybe you are expecting something else, or he is expecting something else. That is the way, the place where you decide like this is the team that works for me. So once the hiring manager round is complete, then your team is decided and everything, and then you can then it goes to the hiring committee. So once the hiring committee finalizes, then your process goes through and you will get back a offer from Google or otherwise, right? The result
Okay.
comes through and then you can join. That's the process.
Okay, so I'll basically go through the process, and in the meantime, actually, Digvij has also answered us like the expectations in the coding round. I'll just go through that so that people who missed few things can get back to it. So the process looks like for an intern, or basically for an SD level, entry level SD1. So there is going to be an online assessment, and followed by three coding rounds, and on top of that there will be one Googliness round, which is basically a behavioral interview. After so this is what the interview process looks like. Once you give this interview, your if the feedback is positive, then you get a like you get to meet a hiring manager, where you can decide a team, where you can see if it is a match for both of you. It's both, it is from the both side. Like you should be happy uh, with the team as well, and the team should be happy with you as well. So it's a match for both. Then if that is also good, then this entire application goes to hiring committee. This is something different from everywhere else, as far as I know. Hiring committee concept is almost I think only at Google, and hiring committee finally decides whether to give a hire call or no hire call. If you get a hire call, you get an offer. That's it. It's as simple as that. And so basically this was for entry level SDs. Now going to the next question, which is like, what does this interview process look like for a senior role, maybe SD2, SD3 and above?
Right. So yeah, for SC3 and above, I would say that you can throw in a few more rounds in the mix. Like especially design is one of the focus areas for a senior level SD. So on the design, like you should be well versed with low level design as well as the high level design, right? So yeah, so basically you are expected that uh, okay, I will just cover the expectation later. I'll just focus on the rounds again. So of course, like DSA and coding rounds, they are still there. So they are still 45 minutes each. So those rounds are such that you will get either you will get one warm up problem and and a medium problem, or you will get say one medium problem and a follow up problem. Like those are the
Okay.
kind of patterns that we follow. But overall, like the expectation is that the candidate should be able to solve one medium problem and give some idea about the second one, right? Even for a senior level SD, that's the thing. But from a senior level SD, like in the rounds, we usually expect that they are able to ask the relevant questions and clarify, which may not be true for say an entry level SD. We try to clarify the question as much as possible, make it very simple for a fresher. But for a senior, we are expecting that they are able to clarify and simplify the problem. Yeah, and
Okay.
plus, yeah, so there are 5 rounds, but other than that, yeah, same online assessment, Googliness, and the rest of the process is the same.
Okay. Understood. So basically, for senior, you said what it means. Like for a senior role, they would check, or Google actually check more than just coding. They also check for design basically. And here the expectations are much more. Like you should be able to have good quality code. You should be able to write modular maintainable code. Then low level design should be decent enough. Then on top of that, the design system design round will come to basically expectations in system design later, just after this basically. But so the interview look like there is going to be first on technical round, which is basically an elimination. After that, there are going to be 3 to 4 technical round, which is like 45 minutes each, I think. This is what you said. uh, out in there are This is a combination of coding and design. In coding round, the expectation is like you should be able to solve 2 questions. First question will be a warm up question, on top of that a follow up medium level question, or it will be a medium level question with a follow up. I think this is a very important information for everyone who is watching this video. So do check that, do maintain. And what it means is basically, when you practice, uh, try to practice the entire series, and I'll cover this in the preparations related question as well. But when you practice, basically try to practice the entire series. For example, if you are practicing jump game 1, go for 2, 3, 4. Practice entire series, so that if a variation comes in the question, you are able to answer that question with the variance as well. So, okay. The next question that I have is, what is expected out of system design round? Basically, we know the expectations from coding round, online assessment. Now, what is expected from a design round at Google?
Right. So when a system design round comes, usually you are faced with some approach, some problem where you have to design, like say some distributed system. Right. Mostly that's the case. So the expectation is that you are more than the exact approach. Instead of saying that I am going to do this, we want the candidate to explain the different approaches that they consider. Right. That's super important. It's not like I am going to do this. I could have done this and I could have done that, but I know the trade-offs. I can tell that I'm not doing this because of this, right? Suppose Elasticsearch, I'm not using Elasticsearch because it's not going to fit in the use case because of X or Y reasons, right? So we
Okay,
want them to
understood.
explain the trade-offs. That's like very important. Then we would want that sometimes the problem is deliberately open-ended. Like it's not like we want to keep it. We actually want to keep it that way. So hoping that the candidate will assume appropriate constraints before solving. So the candidate should be able to just look at the requirements and they should be able to apply constraints instead of solving that open-ended problem, which might be extremely hard, right? You might end up with a solution that's actually not working everywhere. So they should be able to constrain it. It's not always going to be there from the interviewer side. It's deliberately open-ended. So once you put the constraint, then the problem becomes easy. And in particular constraints, some particular solutions work. Then you are able to map the solutions and give the answers, right? Yeah. So in general, that's the way you can approach it. Asking lots
Okay,
of questions is usually helps.
okay. So this is really important for system design aspects. In fact, so basically, what you need to do is you need to clarify the questions very well. You need to ask a lot of questions, relevant questions, is what Digvijay said. Then you should be able to come up with the constraints. What does constraint mean? For example, you a lot of you must have heard about or know about cap theorem. You should be able to identify that where should I use where should I have strong consistency, where would availability work, where would partition tolerance is required, or where what combination do I need. Then there is Pecklek theorem. Payslek or Packlek, whatever however it is pronounced. So you should be able to apply those basics, constraints, and basic things in your interview. You should be able to showcase that in the interview. Apart from that, basically talk about trade-offs. Trade-offs is very very important, like Digvijay mentioned. There is no right or wrong answer. There is no basic one objective answer to a system design question. So try to make it subjective. Try to basically come up with your design principle or design choices you made with a proper reasoning. Don't give, okay, I will not use Elasticsearch क्योंकि मन नहीं कर रहा, ये इस तरह का क्वेश्चन नहीं हो सकता, बिकॉज आई हर्ड कि माई सीक्वल इज अ बेटर चॉइस. Why MySQL is a better choice, right? Why Elasticsearch is a better choice? Why MongoDB is a better choice? It shouldn't be like कि I just heard MongoDB scales. I have heard these answers actually in an interview. So there is no such thing as MongoDB scales. Why does a MongoDB scale in XYZ condition? You have to come up with those kind of answers. So that is very important. Now, since we know all about like the interview process, the expectations in each and every round, so that is why, so basically now we'll go to the preparation stage, and I basically cover all the expectations and actual process before going to preparation, because you should have decent understanding of what is expected so that you can prepare accordingly. So now, Digvijay, like the question for you is basically, how do someone, or how do I prepare for DSA or coding round, especially for Google?
Right. So yeah, I would say that preparing for Google for a DSA or coding round is kind of similar for how you prepare for all many other multinational companies, right? Like Amazon or Microsoft or some. So the process usually, like I personally suggest LeetCode. LeetCode is a very excellent resource, right? If you guys are planning on working, so it has categorized the questions by difficulty and by topic and by other things, right? There are tags by interview, by particular companies, right? You can even find all the questions for Google, right? Plus all the past questions are also there. So from LeetCode, I would say that you can go and check all the different kinds of patterns that are found. So like a lot of time, what happens is you usually will find that in Google the question that is asked that is not found anywhere else. Like the questions are custom designed by people, and there's a hard chance that if you haven't seen some similar pattern, then you will be scratching your head over the question. So instead of doing that, like if you have familiar with a variety of patterns, then you have done enough practice, then you will be able to apply them in the right places. So that is what's really important. That's where lead code really leads you. Just practice more and more questions, especially medium questions. So that's the focus area. So like that's a mistake on my side. What I did was in my starting phases, I was focusing on hard problems. I had this thing in my mind, stigma, right? Google is going to be like the extremely hard questions. That kind of questions will come to me, and how will I tackle them? I actually didn't do any easy or medium. That was the way I was preparing. But then I realized, yeah. So after midway, I realized that that's not the real thing, and medium questions is really the focus area. They really want you that question because we have a limited amount of time, right? And how will you solve two hard questions or something like that in a limited amount of time? That's not the expectation at all. So you should be able to solve a medium problem, and you should be able to code it without any errors. Like that's the really important thing. So they want to see your accuracy. Like, are you missing out on some edge cases or something like that, or are you able to come up with different approaches? Do you know the time and space complexity trade offs, right? Or if even if when given hints, if you're stuck, are you able to pick on those hints, right? So those kind of things are important. So yeah, on my preparation part, I spent a lot of time on lead code, just practicing questions from the medium side, and I want try to cover a lot of variety instead of just randomly going about it. I try to cover. Suppose I learned some topic. For that topic, I try to cover different variety of questions. At the end, I was left with a toolkit. Like this is what I can do. This pattern I can apply. Then yes, after a lot of practice, I am sure that I can code it. If I know how what to do, I can do it. Right? That I am sure. Then it's all up to like on the interview round. How do you do that day? And yeah, time your sessions. Like whenever you are coding, right? You know how to solve the problem. That's not enough. You should code it. Coding is like super important. You should code the problem to solution to completion, and you should code it with a timer instead of randomly doing it. Like say you know that the interview itself is time, right? You have 10, 12, 15 minutes max, right, to code it. So now if you have to code it in that amount, you should have like lots of practice. You should be like searching for stuff like at that time. So a lot of practice helps in coding.
Okay. So just to basically put it in smaller terms, first of all, practice a lot of variety of questions on lead code. Start easy and go till medium. You don't have to focus a lot on hard. Only famous hard questions will be good enough. Then secondly, basically whenever you are coding or whenever you are solving a question, solve it under time pressure or solve it under time constraint, if not pressure. And basically, to mimic an interview, you will be given somewhere around 18 to 20 minutes in a question overall, which basically includes like understanding the question, then basically coming up with the solution, explaining it to the interviewer, and then coding it as well. So what Digvijay mentioned is the coding part. If you even if you not focus on the question coming up with solution part, you should be able to code within 10 to 12 minutes at max. So whenever you are ready with everything, whenever you are ready with the solution, you should be able to code it within 10 to 12 part. And while discussing the interview process, he mentioned this very uh, with very stress is like a lot of people what they do is they're able to come up with solution, but they're not able to code it well. So this is really important. You should always be able to code. There shouldn't be any mistake in the code. That is very important, and that gets people that get rejection in interview. a, a red flag in coding is taken very seriously. So don't make silly mistakes in code. Basically, don't leave edge cases. Try to write good quality production code. So this is very important. And when you practice that on regular basis, that is the only way you can actually do that in a real interview as well, because it's very hard to uh, like think this or do this only in an interview and not doing while or ignore it during practice time. So yeah. Okay, now how to prepare for system design round?
Right. So for system design rounds, I would specially suggest that there are a lot of a lot of standard questions that exist. Again, they help a lot because you get a general idea. Suppose you have to design a web crawler, right? How to do it. Now you know that you did it for a web crawler, but point is it's a batch system. Now you know how to do a batch distributed system if you get another chance, right? And similarly, transactional systems. Now you will get some say searching problem. Now you will get familiar with some search databases like Elasticsearch or something, right? Similarly, if you have to like search something real time, you would want to focus on some like in memory databases like Redis or something, right? So if you solve like there are 15-20 standard problems that are advocated everywhere, so and then you will get to know like at least the standard patterns and how to solve them. Then you can apply those things in different places. Now so with system design, like I try to go through there is a book for like rocking the system design primer. That is something I went through, right? That does advise on a lot of things like how to approach a system design round. That thing like you should be asking a lot of, we already covered that part, like how to go about a system design question. But yeah, so that book did help me. I think we can send a link offline, Karan, on that.
Okay,
So
so one thing is, Digvijay, you don't have to actually send links. So one thing is like I'll add on to that. I have basically attached a link in the description below. It is already present. I basically collect or like maintain a GitHub repository which contain links to everything that you would need in a system design interview, or in fact any software engineering interview, be it coding, LLD, behavioral round, system design, all everything related to that. I have attached link to that GitHub repository. You can check that out. It's free of cost. Everything, every material present on that is totally free of cost. It's an open source community repository. You can actually contribute back as well if you are interested, and you can treat it as an open source contribution as well. So you can check that out, and it contains for all a structured course for DSA, structured course for computer science fundamental, which a lot of people miss, and you will need computer science fundamental in regular day to day life, and system design as well. Then it contains a structured course for LLD from OOPS, then solid principle, then design patterns, and then easy questions, difficult question, and company specific questions. Then it contains structured course for system design, for theoretical part, easy question, medium question, difficult question, and all the things that Digvijay mentioned and did not mention as well. Like research papers, good engineering blogs, system design primer, grokking system design. Everything is present there. You can check that out. And while we are at that topic, one thing is like if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon so that you get to know about all the things that we are doing, and you get notification about all the amazing videos that we put, or interview that we take for people like Digvijay. So yeah. Now what I
Plus,
will do is, yes, please, Digvijay.
yeah, yeah. Plus one to what you mentioned, Karan. Like especially the papers. I feel that a lot of papers were phenomenal in the space of distributed systems or data design or something else, right? We have a lot of standard papers and they give a lot of knowledge, like how things were and what are the design decisions that they took and why they took them. And you can literally apply those in other places also. Yeah, so that's one thing. But there is one point I wanted to add. This is from my personal experience, and I think people will like it. So when you are preparing for system design, what we did was we formed a small peer group, like me and three four people. And what we tried was like suppose we will take one some problem and some system standard design problem, and we will design it our own way. All of us will have different designs. Yeah, because different people think in different ways. Then if you start to compare what happened, okay, like I missed on one thing, but probably he picked on that, and he missed on something, and that someone else picked on that. If you start combining, you get to know, okay, like this is what my solution was lacking. Now this is the best solution, right? And then you can
Yes.
even compare it with a standard solution. So that really helps. You will get to know a lot more points than just doing it yourself.
Yes, definitely. So this is basically me, Digvijay, and couple more friends. We joined. We made a group, and in fact, we were doing it just not just for interview preparation. We were doing it to learn system designs as well. Like this extended to an interview preparation stage as well. But we used to do that on a regular basis as well. Not just system design, low level design as well, like design patterns. We used to discuss all these things a lot during our regular day to day interaction, work interaction. So this is something that I will advise as well. It's not just specific to system design. It's also relevant to coding. It is also relevant for behavioral questions. It is relevant to everything. Make a group of peer or friends. Like try to make a group of 3 to 4 people. More than four is like a crowd, and less than three is basically it's too less, because two people, if it is two, like if one day you are not feeling well, that person will also get demotivated. So that is why 3 to 4 is a very good number. And you can try to form that 3 to 4 kind of group and use that group. And this is something that works almost. I've heard this from a lot of people working for a lot of people, so you can definitely try that out. In fact, if you want group of people preparing for something, some type of uh, company or some stage, you can basically, what you can do is you can actually join the community, Discord community. We have a lot of groups, like there are people who actually formed groups and who are preparing together. So you can definitely check that out, and you can also join the 75 days challenge, where entire community come together and prepare for DSA every single day for next 75 days. Now 60 days are left, so for next 60 days every person will is preparing together, so that feeling of togetherness and everything comes as well. So you can do that. Now what I'll do is I'll take few questions. There are multiple questions in the chat, and I'll take few questions, and then we'll move to the discussion that we or the rest of the questions that I have. So Adarsh have a question. Can a guy who is in sixth semester of their college and become serious in for their studies for placement in sixth semester, can he get good placement?
Yeah, I would especially like to answer that. So that is, you can definitely get good placement. You can even get placed in Google. A lot of my friends who started in sixth semester, they are now well placed. They actually got placed in Google. I personally have friends that happened. Even me, right? I was from electronics background, and at that time I did not have enough exposure on the computer science side. So I started preparing in the sixth semester itself, and yeah, it's a hard road. You have to prepare a lot. You have to do a lot of hard work because you are already lagging behind. But if you put in all that effort, then yes, you can crack lot of companies. You can crack top level companies. So don't worry about that at all.
Yep. Totally. I'd like to add that as well. Like, although I was from computer science background and I was preparing from my fourth semester, to be honest, end of fourth semester, to be honest, but I was never serious about getting a placement. Definitely, you can do it. It doesn't take a lot of time. So, and right now you are in mid of sixth semester. It's not over as well. So you have decent amount of time. You can definitely work on this, and you can, believe me, even if you don't get it in seventh semester or end of seventh semester or start of eighth semester, this is not the end of it. If you get a decent startup, work with that. You'll earn, or you'll earn respect from your peers. Apart from that, you'll get a lot of exposure, and things will happen eventually. For Digvijay as well, he did not get Google in one day from the day he started, or a month or 2 months. He reached there in years. Like, it took him 5 to 6 years to reach Google. For me, it took me 6 years to reach where I am. Right? It takes time, but it happens eventually. So you don't have to worry about that. Just focus on the path. Don't worry about a lot of details. Basically, just focus on learning is what Digvijay also mentioned. So now the next question that we have is, as a Salesforce developer in service-based company, if good in DSA, is it possible to get place or get a job in basically a product-based company?
Yeah, so that also I can answer. So I have a bunch of friends who are already in some service based companies. I wouldn't name anything, but yeah, so I really encourage them to like put some effort in DSA, right? Get your things strong. If you have a hold on all that, then just go for the interviews via reference if that's possible. Then yes, you can actually crack the product based companies, whether it's startup or it's a big company. You can actually land in your dream job. So DSA and coding, like at least that for freshers, that is the actual criteria. And if you're strong in that, you can tackle anything.
Nice.
So
So yes,
being from a
definitely.
service-based company, it's not biased. Like it's not biased towards that.
Definitely. I don't have a doubt. Like, we have a lot of examples, and in fact, I'll do few sessions with people who have already reached good companies like Amazon, or in fact Blackbuck as well. We know a common friend who reached a very good stage in Blackbuck from a product-based company, like, or a service-based company, as Digvijay mentioned. Okay. Uh, so the next question we have from Akash is, last December I got rejected from hiring manager committee round. What else things should I focus more this time?
Usually I don't know, like if you collected the feedback from the HR or recruiter, usually they are very vocal about it. They will collect and give you cumulative feedback for across all the rounds, even from hiring manager, hiring committee or manager round, like what stood out, right? What was the real problem? Was it coding? You will get some focus areas from that, right? If not, like if you don't have anything to start with, then you can give more mock interviews, right? They will at least give you, I think Karan has a lot of resources on that. Maybe they can help you get like, understand, like you have to find out what are your problem areas, right? They can help you identify those.
Okay, so I think Digvijay is one of our mock interviewer, and he conducts mock interview with the TechMaestro community, and we conduct one mock interview drive every month, and it's pending for month of April, and we're going to go live with mock interview drive very soon. So stay tuned, join Discord community, and follow us on LinkedIn, and you will definitely get to hear about the upcoming mock interview drive, and you will get interviewed with people from companies like Google, Digvijay himself, Facebook, Microsoft, Salesforce, all companies, like all top tech companies you can think of. Like, we have people interviewing from those companies, and that this is also totally free of cost as well. So yeah. Okay, so Skywalker has a question: how interview looks like for SD2? Basically, I'll take that, Digvijay. We have already shared what does a process look like for SD2, but just to repeat very quickly, it's basically three technical rounds. Three technical rounds are basically coding, mainly coding. For SD2, the design round is optional. You can choose design round, or you may opt out of it, and you can go for coding round as well, and it is not going to have any impact on your result. Then after that, there is a Googliness round, which is basically a behavioral round. So this is what happens once you clear this. There is a hiring manager round. Once you clear all, your package go to a hiring committee. If they approve, you get offer. If they reject, you get a rejection with feedback, like Digvijay mentioned just 2 minutes ago, and a focus area to focus on. Okay, Rahul says, how much time can I ask for from my recruiter for preparation? Like you mentioned earlier, like what is that good time or sweet spot of amount of time?
Yeah. So there are two ways to answer this. First is like how much time do you want, right? So the recruiter will be allowing you at least 2 3 months if that is what you want. So that is not a problem. So it's not like there is a restriction on them. Like they will reach out back to you within 2 or 3 months, right? But yeah, if you are like on your final phases of your preparation, you are well prepared and everything, then you can ask for time as according to your own needs. Suppose you want some particular focus area like design, right? Usually people want more time on design. Then yes, you can ask for like 3 weeks 4 weeks, that is fine. Even 2 3 months is not a big deal. Usually the recruiters don't have any problem with that.
Okay, so this, like people who are watching this, take a note of this, because people generally fear a lot in asking time from recruiters. So they what Digvijay, I've seen this happening with a lot of mentees that I have. What they do is they just accept whatever time that recruiter says. So you don't have to do that. They will adjust according to your timeline. I have taken 6 months as well, so that is totally okay. It's up to you. If you're not ready, just tell them you're not ready, and they will call you back. They're going to call you back. Don't worry about it. So yeah. Okay, the next question we have is from Rishita. Basically, I couldn't manage to join the live from first. So please, can you tell me that I am in my sixth semester? From is it possible to prepare for Google, and how much time will it take? So sixth semester part, I think that we just answered that. Can you say, like, mention how much time will it take for a people or a person from a beginner? What is that realistic timeline that you think?
Right. Like realistically, there are like different completely different timelines for different people. So because I have known people who were in sixth semester but they cracked Google in the seventh semester, right? So that depends on like the amount of commitment you are willing to put into it, because it's a one time commitment. Like it will forever help you, it will stay with you, it will not go away. So suppose you are working real hard, right? You know all the process, and TechMaestro is there to help on all the process, right? So after doing that, like if you are willing to work through it, I think 1 year should be the max, and then you should be able to do it. But else, like it depends on your pace. If you want some balance, then of course it can take more than 1 year, 2 to 3 years also.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next question. Basically, how projects are important. Taking the fact that there are not any project round at all in Google interview.
Yeah, okay. So I'll take that one. Like, there are no specific project rounds at all in Google, but yeah, projects play a very important role when they are shortlisting you, right? Because suppose you are from a campus, that is all they have of you. They have to know like what kind of projects that you have worked on. Is there something relevant in those projects, like something which is specific to programming or something, right? So projects do play a major role in shortlisting of your resume, but yeah, they don't ask any other specific questions on your project, but actually they may be helpful in the Googliness round. Suppose because in
Yeah,
Googliness round you are given situations, right? You will be given some situation like what if this happens? How will you tackle it, or how have you tackled it in the past? So now you can draw from your own experiences. I was working on this and that project, and I came across this, but I did not feel pressure. Right? You can formulate your answers around that, and it will definitely help you. So projects are important.
yeah. So basically, just to answer it in very short, अगर आपको call back ही नहीं आएगा तो what will you show? What will you do in the interview, right? So projects are relevant to get you a call back, to get that or make you reach that interview round. This is what projects are relevant for. Especially, I'm just talking from Google's perspective right now. Apart from that, there is a specific behavioral round basically where they may ask you a lot of questions related to your questions. Sorry, a question related to your project, not technical aspects but behavioral aspects of the project. Okay. A very so okay. So there is very relevant and very commonly asked question here. Gaurav asked how to improve DP for Google. And is competitive programming required to get into Google, or lead code is sufficient?
Okay. So yeah, I would say that competitive programming definitely helps because it gives a time view of things, right? When you're doing lead code, you are like, okay, I am lazy. I will do this question today, but I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe I saw the solution, right? Maybe I know the solution. I coded it. I got some errors, but then who cares, right? In a competitive programming, or especially if you are giving contests, right? So when you are giving contests, you have a time limit. You have people who are competing against you, so you know that I have only 15 minutes, 20 minutes for this question, so you do accordingly, which is similar to how things are going to go happen in an interview. So competitive programming is definitely relevant, but it's not like the only thing that's there. So do practice on lead code a lot, but do give contests from time to time. Contests tell you where you stand, right? And with contests you will get a feel of like, am I improving or not? I used to solve 3 questions, but today I am solving 5 questions, right? Something has changed, like I am more confident, I'm going to crack Google, that kind of thing. On the other part, like how to improve dynamic programming for Google. So I personally tell everyone, like when you are working with dynamic programming, so dynamic programming is basically a mass concept, right? Altogether. So do practice lot of questions. The more number of questions you practice, the stronger you are at dynamic programming. So there are like 6 to 7 varieties the question can be formulated. The hardest part in a dynamic programming problem is to identify that it's a dynamic programming problem, right? And if you have done a lot of questions, then you are able to identify it quickly. Okay, like what if I try to define, can I formulate it recursively, right? If I can, maybe I can memorize it. So you start to think in those terms, because a lot of problems can't be solved any other way, right? So you should be, otherwise you will reach some exponential solution. So you quickly turn your mind to, okay, this is another thing in my toolkit, I'm going to quickly try it whether it works or not. But practicing a lot of dynamic programming question is the key.
Okay, I'll add one point to this. When you practice dynamic programming, after that do practice other algorithms as well, because dynamic programming, what happens when you practice a lot of DP questions is you try to apply DP in every single questions. So not every question is DP question. So make sure that you also practice other type of questions. But yes, to get better at DP, you solve a lot of questions. So yes, and it happened with both of us. Like I know this because we practiced together, we prepared together for companies. So we used to apply DP literally in every single question, and there were much more optimized, much better solutions without DP as well. So this is something that I'll say. Okay, so the next question we have is how to prepare hard topics, because literally sometimes concepts just blow mind. What to do for these topics?
Okay. So one thing I would like to say, I think a lot of people are probably ignorant about this. That suppose you are faced with a hard problem, right? Which is usually not the case, but suppose you are. The intent is that usually the interviewer will try to drop some hints or guide you in the right direction. But if you are not listening or something, or if you are not catching, trying to catch the hints, that's when things start to go wrong, right? If you are able to catch the hint and solve the problem, that's not a red flag. That's actually a positive thing. People are afraid that I didn't get the optimal solution, let me just scrap the interview, I just failed. That's not the case. You should follow the hints and reach the optimal solution. That's a big deal. That means that you are actually able to follow through when difficulties, when you're faced with difficulties. But yeah, hard topics in general will not be the trend. They are more rare. That's what I would say. They are more to see, like, suppose how deep can you go. You are able to quickly solve problems, right? They want to see what's your depth. That's when you will be faced with hard problem.
Okay, so basically, the answer is, if you have to prepare for hard topic, what you can do is, like, if at any cost, like you're done with everything else and you have to prepare for hard topics, what you can do is like try to solve or build questions from easy level to harder level. uh, what can happen is some concepts doesn't even have simple questions, like maybe BIT, binary index tree. uh, yes, BIT basically. So what you can do is you can pick a relatively easier question, try to build on top of that. If you have to basically prepare for hard topics specifically, or maybe some very super graph algorithm, like some sort of algorithm, very specific algorithms and all, so this is what you can do. But in general, as Digvijay mentioned, you don't have to prepare a lot of hard topics for sure. Okay, one question that we have is, Jatin says, like, system design is a very big pain. How should one prepare for it?
So, Karan, would you like to reiterate probably from what we
Okay,
discussed?
okay, so, sure. So, Jatin, we have already discussed this, and the answer to this is basically, first of all, focus on the basics aspects of it. Basics is like theoretical aspects, things like consistent hashing. Then what is load balancing, sharding, uh, caching. There are bunch of concepts which you can actually get through. You can get videos to all those concepts in the description below. There is a GitHub repository, and it is totally free of cost. Every content that I put is totally free of cost. You can go through that, and then you start basically solving questions. On top of that, what you do is you try to build a group of peers, or maybe seniors, junior, doesn't matter, like group of people which want to prepare with you, or who are ready to prepare with you. Now, you discuss questions with them. Every day you solve a question, or maybe in a week you solve question twice a week, or whatever your time cadence is, it's up to you. You solve questions and you discuss solutions with every person in that group, and you try to get best out of each solution, and then you have a very good solution for a particular question. For example, design YouTube, or design YouTube live, to be very precise, the live that we are doing, right? So you talk to, let's say, Jatin, let's say you are there, I am there, Digvijay is there. There are two more people, like Rishita is there and Subair is there, right? In that case, what we will do is, like, we'll come up with our own, basically, we'll come up with our own solution. Then you will present your solution to all four of us, and we'll try to make it fail as much as possible, and you will try to defend it. Same thing will, I will do it, then you all four will try to make it fail, and I will try to defend it. Similarly, Digvijay will try to present his solution, and we will try to fail it. Now, in this process, what you learn is, like, first of all, you are able to identify where a system can fail. Two, you know how to talk about trade-offs. So this is very important. This is where people get or improve themselves. So yeah, so that's how you can prepare for system design. Okay. Subair asked, for experienced person, should we have an experience in framework like Spring Boot? Very relevant question, Digvijay.
Yeah, this question is very relevant. So, of course, like Spring Boot is what the open source world a lot of people use, right? So, a lot of concepts are applicable that I would say. Like, suppose you are working in some distributed systems, it does give you a good hands-on, right? How to work with software designing and other stuff. But yeah, in an interview process, I would say it plays a lesser role than the other things. When you're comparing it to, like, say, DSA or coding, right? That is the bulk of or the meat of the whole interview, or the design round. Like, that is the focus area, or the Googliness round, because these are the literally what is expected of you. So no one is going to focus on the literal details, like what happened in this framework. Are you able to put some nitty-gritties, right? Some caveats or something like that that no one knows. That kind of questions are not going to break your interview at all, because that is not the expectation. So it's good that you know, because they will definitely help you in your career, but it's not like what's going to be a make or break for your interview.
In fact, this is not just true for Google. This is true for almost all the companies, unless and until they are looking for a Spring Boot developer, right? So you don't you can, it's not just Spring Boot. You can actually look at any framework, or you, this is more about actually developing a production level system. Now you can do it in Spring Boot, you can do it in other Java frameworks like Drop Wizard, Spring MVC, or Python framework like Django Flask, PHP framework like Laravel. There are so many frameworks, Node.js, whatever, like whatever sails your boat is, that's good enough. So yes.
The
uh,
more senior you get, the lesser the impact of frameworks or languages, right? They are just obscured away after a while.
yes, exactly. Okay, Rahul says, I have a call with Google Recruiter next week. Any specific question I should clarify with him?
Okay, maybe yeah, like if you prefer some specific location, or maybe that you want some more time, right? Like we discussed, suppose you want to focus on some particular area, you want more time, that you can ask. Or on the process itself, like you would have a lot of question whether, suppose you are trying for SD2, I'm not sure what's the role, but you can ask if the design round is optional or not. Like, what are the caveats? Is it going to be that I'm going to get a higher role based on design round versus not, right? Those kind of things you can clarify with the recruiter.
Correct. Yeah, I think these are really relevant questions. Okay, for SD1, system design is important slash mandatory. I think I'll take that. So it is not the case. We discussed it already. This is, in fact, from what we know to a good extent, system design at Google, I am only talking about Google, is not mandatory even for SD2s. So you are good to go without system design for SD1 and SD2. Yeah. Okay. Sir, I am a MCA background working in a small startup. I saw most people working in big product company from BTech. How can MCA people get job in product based company? Digvijay, I'll take this. First of all, what I'll say is there is a very good video or a live sessions that we conducted with Santosh Kumar. He's also an MCA and he's currently working with Microsoft. You should check that out. It's actually really good video, and you will get a lot of relevant information. Secondly, your degree does not matter. It does not matter whether you have BTech, you have BSc, whether you have MCA, or in fact, even if you have a degree or not. It does not matter. Your skills matter. So only focus on your skills, build your skills, and you are good to go. Build your computer science skills, computer science fundamental, DSA programming, DSA, then system design to a good extent, low level design, then build projects. It takes time, but you have to build these concepts and skills, and that's when you get better. And that's all you need, not any degree or anything. Okay. uh, Sujit is saying for SD1 medium hard lead code is enough to crack DSA. Is there any depth in graph DP? If they ask depth in graph and DP.
Okay, so on graph, I would say the basic all the basic algorithms that people know of, right? How to traverse the graph, or some slightly different algorithms like suppose topological sorting, right? These are pretty common when you're working with graph problems. Graph problems are often asked at Google. I would not like about that because like a lot of work actually involves with graph problems. I have realized this at Google. So yeah, even sometimes question come related to flow in a graph, but yeah, that's the extent to it. Like no one will go into like more than that, I would say. For DP, then yes, I think there are few varieties of DP anyway. If you cover them, like you should be able to identify that this is a DP problem and I can memorize it, and you should be hands on with that part. That's the extent to DP. So
Okay.
medium questions are like good enough. A few hard questions also help, but that's it.
Okay. So the next question that we have is how a person know that he she is good interest, how he or she is good slash interest in programming or not, because as a beginner we feel very bad that we are unable to solve questions, even easy questions. I think very good question, Prabhat. So the gist of question is basically how does one even know that they want to do programming in the future or not? As a beginner, we are not even able to solve easy questions. I think everybody goes through this process. And Digvijay, why don't you share your journey slash your experience in this?
Okay. Yeah. So on the part of interest in programming, so in my case, what happened was like I got introduced to programming in my ninth or tenth as an optional subject. But then yeah, I went into an electronic course. But I always like the programming part because it's logical. If your mind fits into that particular vertical, right, that you like to think about the things logically, then programming is really the thing for you because you define certain things and they are expected to work a certain way. Then yeah, so that's really like how I got interested in programming, that I found that I was really good at it, right, out of all the things. And plus it's salary wise it's awesome, you know, that it's top of market in compared to every area. So yeah,
Okay.
that should be good enough if you're not able to solve easy problems, right? So I was also a beginner once, of course, like everyone, no one starts like big. So on the case of easy problems, like try to understand the concepts, read through books. There are things, I think there are a lot of resources or books on this. You can start with very basic languages, right? Try to get a mastery on all the basic constructs, then move from there instead of like jumping. It's okay, right? Everyone has its own pace. It's not like you have to be like the fastest one.
Okay. I will.
Don't get discouraged.
I'll give you the different kind of answer. So how to know whether you have interest in programming? So basically, I did not do even a single programming question, or I'll say relevant programming question till second end of second year in my college. I did not have any C, C++ or anything till class 12. I was a physical education person. In college, I took computer science just because my rank was good and everybody in the top rank was taking computer science. That is the only reason I took it. I personally wanted to go and become a mechanical engineer, maybe at that time, but I took it because everybody was saying कि यार इसमें placements बहुत अच्छी होती हैं. To be honest, this was the only reason I took computer science. Then I did not solve even a single question till the end of second year. But what happened after that is basically I started very simple. In fact, it was very hard for me to even print a Fibonacci series. What I did is like I started building few things, started building projects. I started with Android, and that is at the time when Android 2.3 was there, right? The 2.3 was just launched. So I started building Android apps. And when I started looking at the app on my phone, that's when things started becoming very good for me. So I built my college fest app and made it my seniors posted it on Play Store, and there were like more than 1,000 downloads in a day, and that got me excited. I built few more apps. Then I built more. Within a year, I actually posted more than 25 apps on Play Store. That's how I got into programming, to be honest. And by the end of fifth semester, I was very bad at computer sciences, or not computer science fundamentals, but DSA and coding. I literally failed all the interviews that were there in for internship on campus interviews. And that's when I started getting serious about DSA as well, because that's what get asked in interviews. So my projects used to get me shortlisted in all the companies in for interview, but I used to just fail in either in writing their OA online assessments, and second, either if I clear it by any mistake, I used to fail in first or second round of interviews. So that's when I got serious about computer science and DSAs as well. So I started solving very simple questions, very simple concepts on Code Chef. Lead code was not a thing in the time when we used to be in college, me and Digvijay both. It was not a very famous thing. So Code Chef and Hacker Rank and all these things were starting to come up. So I started solving easy questions there, and it was very hard. I can totally relate. It is very frustrating at initial steps. So that's how you build. Like, you have to sustain that stage, and this is going to be true for almost every field. It does not matter if it is programming or anything. You have to sustain few months, and even after few months, even after being a little good at it, if you feel like this is not for me, then this is not your interest does not lie into this. But unless and until you clear a threshold, that human tendency of leaving things, that till then you don't know if you are interested in this or not. And if DSA is not your thing, try to build projects, try to do things with startups and internships with startups. This is not the only path of success, or Google, Facebook, Microsoft. These are not the only criteria of success in software engineering. So try to do all that basically. Uh, Prem asks, are fresher asked LLD and HLD questions at Google? I think we just answered it. The answer is no. Okay. Deepak's question is, I have 3 years of experience. Can I apply for SD1, or I'm not confident, as I'm not confident for SD2, or will it be a red flag? I think this is a really good question.
Yeah. So I think you can apply for SD1 as well. So that's not the challenge here, but it's definitely puts you in slightly limelight, right? Because in the hiring committee stage, it does, because you are competing against a lot of other people, right? And when they're comparing profiles, right, then it matters a little bit. But yeah, you can allow it. You can apply for SD1. That won't be an issue. You can work with your recruiter for that.
Okay. So going to the next question. Hi sir, I want to know how to update progress form for. Okay, this is for me. As it contains all the reading material only, should I share badge on day 18 on LinkedIn? You can. It's okay. Even if you, what you can do is you can just fill the progress form without doing, without, just add your GitHub repository and all. don't have to worry about it. Secondly, basically what you can do is like on day 18 you can just post it. Yes, if you have read it you can post it, that's okay. What is the average time to crack Google SD1 as a beginner in your point of view? I think we just answered this, and it depends on your commitment level. But you can say around 8 months, 8 to 12 months is what it takes on an average. You can actually crack that in 5 to 6 months as well, and you may take more than that as well. Okay. Digvijay, this is a very good question, and none of us took the first route. The question is, which is better, MS in US or stay here and keep applying for product-based companies?
Okay, I'll just give a answer from my own perspective. Like, although I know I'm not sure that I am the best person to answer this, but yeah, a lot of my friends like who have done MS in masters in US, they do get preferences, right? Suppose they are applying for a job outside, right? Then they get preferences. It's of course easier to get outside in some Google or some other companies, right? Directly after masters. While if you're trying from here, directly going outside is probably not an option for you, right? At least in US, it's pretty hard, right? People do crack it, but it's not like trivial. So yeah, with masters that preference is there, and if you're applying for a higher level role, right, when you are at a managerial role or even a director role, masters takes you a long way. I have seen that people who have masters, right, they do get preferences when you are at a higher level or you are going for director level, but that's like too far. It's not going to change anything right now.
Okay.
Exactly.
My opinion is a little controversial slash very different from Digvijay. So first of all, if you want to live in US, masters is a better route because it gives you visa right away, and it's easier to get into masters, and it's easier to get a visa right away. Whereas from product based companies, tech companies like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, it takes time to get visa or that work permit in US, specifically in US. For rest of the nations, it's relatively easier, especially for European countries. They hire freshers from India, they hire all type of people from India. That is there. But as you grow, in fact, in my opinion, it gets easier as you get more senior. So after maybe E5 and above, which is SD3 and above, it's much easier to get a callback directly even from US. I know a lot of people who have done it, who have directly gotten a call from companies like Amazon and Facebook and Google directly from US for and they sponsor H1Bs as well. But that is a little rare. But the easier route is get into that company in India and then move to US. It has its own caveat, but uh, basically it is still possible. There are pros and cons of both, but I think this is not the right forum for that. Maybe Prem, you can discuss it with both of us or with me on our Discord chat. Important topics that you would suggest to others for SD1 as a DSA topic.
Okay. So like at least all the standard topics, like all the standard data structures like arrays, strings, right, and trees or graphs, because graphs is also common. It's not like a very rare thing at Google. You will find a lot of basic questions on graph, not something very advanced. Like I mentioned, different topics on graphs, right? So those and there are a lot of pattern based questions, suppose two pointers or some particular algorithms or like traversal algorithms. At least those are the basic given that they are expecting. But yeah, more than that, you are able to apply the right thing in the right place, right, which comes from practice, strengthening your toolkit. Those are the things that matter more, but you should be able to cover at least the basic topics, all the basic data structures.
Okay. I think that covers most of it. And in fact, what I will say is like I'll just try to sell one thing, which is 75 days challenge that we are doing, and we try to cover all the topics. And if even if you don't want to join the challenge, you can actually look at the sheet that we have. It covers topic wise questions. You can actually do that question at your own pace as well. I think that will cover most of it for you. Uh, Vipul is saying he can do DSA, but development is really frustrating for me. What should I do? One thing that I will say is like This is the very first time I'm hearing that project development is frustrating for someone who is able to solve DSA questions. It is generally the other way around. But good to know that there are people who feels this way as well. Now, to answer your question, what I can think of is basically it's all about finding what you like and what you like to do and your interest level. So try to figure out where exactly does your interest lie. If it is mainly in DSA, try to apply that somewhere in a real life project. For example, if you are basically working, for example, a direct application of graph algorithm could be uh, basically you can try to build a network related problem. You can look at there are a lot of actual problems. You can try to build solution for that. Good algorithms for that. Secondly, like you can build a caching library that will use a lot of data structure knowledge. Like LRU will use it, hash map and linked list. LFU will use hash map, linked hash map and linked list, right? So first come first serve will use queues. So you can try to build that kind of project, like actual queuing library, and put it on GitHub for others to use. So you can try to do these things. If you like more, if you like DSA more, then try to use that in a real life scenario.
I would like to add a little bit. So, assuming that the interest part has been answered already, but suppose you are actually working on development and you are getting stuck somewhere, right? In that case, probably like you should be able to understand your weak topics first. Is it some particular framework that you didn't have knowledge about? Because that is perfectly fine, right? There are so many frameworks. There is no way that you would know it in one go. So what you can do is you can find out, like, suppose you have shortlisted this is the framework that I want to work on. Try to make small project or like a hobby project on top of it. Suppose you want, right? And suppose you want to make some APIs or some particular batch processing like pipeline or something, right? You want to use some particular database or some tool. If you start doing some experimental work, some hobby projects kind of thing using that framework, you get a good idea of what the framework is actually selling, right? And you should at least do it like for the first time that you are understanding any framework, give it its proper time. It helps you in the long run. You would see that I am wasting like 2 3 days just for understanding it. No, yeah, that will really help you in the long run. I That's the way I work with every framework.
Okay. One question we have is like, when does Google hiring start? I think this is
Okay.
more from a fresher's perspective, because for experienced people, it is throughout the year.
Okay. So probably like I'm not really sure. I'm not the best person for this, but we can get back to you on this question.
Okay. So, Prem, what you can do is once we are done with the live, you can comment it down, comment in the description or comment it in the video, and we will try to get back whenever I have answer. I will try to answer this back or write a comment as a reply. Okay. A CTC question, like for an SD1, is there a fixed CTC or does it vary?
So there is always a band when you're talking on a particular role in any company. They usually have some band with some minimum value and maximum value, but it's not like it's too far. It's not like X and 10X like that. But yeah, there is a small variation, and it depends on like how far along you are in the role. That's what they are trying to judge in the interview. Suppose you are an end level SD2, right? Of course, that matters if you are a entry level SD2. I think that answers.
Okay. Uh, so basically, the question is basically how could we know we are ready for interview while solving DSA?
Right? So the good thing is you should be able to mark your progress, right? So the way to do that is I told you that we can give more and more contests from time to time. Suppose you are learning a lot of topics, you are already doing lead code questions that you are able to solve medium questions in 10 minutes or something like that. But now it's time for your actual understanding where you stand. Give a contest and see, like, are you able to actually solve them in that limited time frame? Where are you getting stuck? Was it the coding that was the hard thing for you, right? That way you can track your progress. Then one day you will realize that, okay, I'm able to quickly solve the problems as well, and my timing is good, and I don't make mistakes while coding, I cover the edge cases. Then yes, then you are ready for the interview.
Okay, good answer. Okay, I think that's about it. That's the number of questions we have. What we'll do is like we'll just wrap up the session. It's a very long session, and if there are more questions, just post the questions as soon as possible so that we don't miss anything. Any final piece of advice for the people who want to apply or who are applying at Google?
Okay. Yeah, I would say define your goals, know where you stand, formulate a plan like how do I achieve my goal, right? Keep checking up on your progress via contests or regular practice, right? Yeah, that's one piece of advice. Other is like practice a lot. That's really important when you are working with coding, especially because you don't want to miss out on some edge cases. Edge cases better, right? And your code should be high quality code. It should be modular, right? And suppose you solve some problem, right? You should still go through the existing solutions. What if there is a more optimal way of solving it? What if there are multiple ways of solving the problem? I should know like when to apply which. It's not just that I've solved the problem, right? So those things matter in DSA, I think, in general. And for the Googliness round, I think we didn't touch up on that. For the Googliness round, you guys can, especially because there are situations that you come up with. So what you can do is there is a star technique, which is a standard technique which is used for Amazon. It's also helpful in other places. Basically, you are given a situation, there is a task, there is some action, and there is what was the outcome or result. So if you can think from your work or your college life, or right from your experiences, some situations, what if this happened, what if that happened. There are a lot of questions you will find from past experiences in different companies. Just try to write down, like, if this happened, how did I react, what should I have done, right? In the star technique manner. And if you write it down, that's really important. You will understand and remember those situations. When the time comes, you won't be at a loss like thinking what to answer now. You will be able to properly formulate your answer and show them that you actually reach the result, the outcome.
Okay, great piece of advice. I think if you do all these things, it will have a lot of impact. Not just for Google. In this, the piece of advice that you gave is not just for Google. It is true for almost everywhere. Uh, we'll take two more questions, like three more questions, and that's about it. If you have any more questions, you can comment down in the description or comment on the video, and we will definitely answer back. uh, because we have a limit of the time. Now, the question we have is development mandatory and important for getting placed in FAANG companies or good tech companies? Uh, I'll save you some energy, Digvijay. So we have already answered this question earlier, but basically, development is going to have a lot of impact on your resume, on your profile, and it will help you get callback from recruiters. And secondly, it will help you talk about situations in your Googliness round. So yes, it is very, very, very important. Maybe if you can think of some other way to balance out things, maybe like win or score top 10 rank in Code Jam or reach world finals in ICPC. I don't think then it would matter, because they know that you have spent your most of the time doing that. So that is something that you can do live without. But in general, most of the cases, you would need development and development kind of projects basically, and you that will help you get callback from any good company basically. Okay, one question is, I am from non-CS background, so how important are CS fundamental or computer basic computer architecture knowledge and networking?
Right. So yeah, I am also from a non-CS background, so I can totally relate. So yeah, CS fundamentals are actually important because if you are not talking about just FANG companies, right? There are even startups and there are a lot of other companies. So there are specific rounds and people do focus on computer science fundamentals. We can't just avoid them. It's a daily part of your life. Like some of the things you will end up using more than others, like operating system. I personally advocate to people like give special focus to operating systems. Like even in your daily development life, that makes a major impact. You will be working with threads all the time. You will be working on like how to manage the, say the so how the scheduler will work, right? How the resources we manage, all those things. So computer science fundamentals, especially, I wouldn't say like basic computer architecture knowledge. That's good to have. That's really nice that you know it, and it is useful in various interviews. But it's not like a deal breaker. But networking, operating systems, those are the ones that I really advocate for.
Yes, definitely. So computer science fundamentals are the core of things, because you have to use that every single day. It's not just about interview. Let's say even you get Google interview clear, like you clear Google's interview and you reach Google, you have to work there. It's not that they'll not pay you just because you cracked the interview. You have to work there. And to do your day-to-day job in any company in computer sciences or software engineering, you would need computer science fundamentals. So focus on that. Okay. So the last question that we have for the day is, do you have any idea about when Google hire SG1, like yearly twice or months, like Jan or July? Maybe if you have anything, we have already shared the answer to this, which is like there is no clarity as of now. You can do is like you can post your question and we'll try to get back. But in case you have any information, Digvijay.
No, for now I don't have it, but definitely I can try to get this information and get back.
Okay, sure. So I think that's about it. First of all, thank you so much everyone for watching this video till the end. And if you have not done that, click on the subscribe button and click on the bell icon because that is really, really important. And you will get to know about all the good videos and good stuff that we add to the channel every single day. Apart from that, Digvijay, a very special thanks to you, and thank you so much for giving so much time. And I know like it's very late in the night at India right now, and thank you so much for coming online and sharing all those good insights with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm really happy that a lot of people can take something out of this, and I'm helping shape their lives and careers.
Definitely. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.